What's up? Welcome back, Call of Duty fans. I'm IHOLDSHIFT. Good to see you back. And today, we're going to be starting to talk about the Pro League Qualifiers that are coming up in just about a week and a half. And I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently than you might see from other content creators or other podcasts out there. Or I guess maybe more, it's more in line with like a podcast segment. I'm going to be going over each of the pools more specifically, talking about each of the individual teams and where I think they might succeed or falter when it comes to potentially being the last of the top 12 teams to reach the Pro League Qualifiers. Now, before we dig in this, in case you're not familiar, there will be 4 groups of 7 teams in each of the pools. The top 2 after pool play will automatically qualify for the Pro League Qualifiers. The bottom 2 from the pools will be eliminated from the chance of joining into the Pro League. And then the middle 3 will go into a 12-team bracket to finish off their potential chances to get to that Pro League. The top 4 from that bracket will be the last 4 to get into the Pro League. So it's going to be a really interesting ride. Let's take a look at what the pools are after the initial draw. We're going to be starting things off in Pool A. That consists of Team Sween, Reciprocity, FaZe Clan, Team Ted, Faze Black, Team Nile, and Enigma Six. You can see all of the other pools out there as well. Of course, the top seeds, they're all listed as they were seeded after their performances at Vegas. But let's take a quicker look at what Pool A has to consist of. Again, we just hit all of the teams, and on here, as we start to talk about it more in depth, we'll pop up all of the rosters for those squads. And again, Team Sween and Reciprocity were the teams that finished closest to the top after a very dramatic championship bracket. Team Sween came out of the open bracket, if you don't remember back. Reciprocity had a very mediocre pool play and found themselves kind of sitting in the middle of their pool. Kind of the same story actually with FaZe Clan. Both of those teams coming out of their pools did not look so great. And then Teddy Rex's squad, Faze Black, Nile, and Enigma Six were all squads that came from the open side of the bracket. So as we take a look at the first team up in, first and foremost, it will be Team Sween. Quicker, Weeman, Nolson, Dylan, and Brain. They did not have any roster swaps between what their roster was at Vegas versus what they're going to be going into this event with. So, as you'll see it, those names will stay the same. Going back to Vegas, this was a team that finished top 6. Their loss to eUnited actually was their only loss into the pool play. They were the last team to join into this bunch and had a very, very dominating performance throughout their open division play. Then they would also lose to Splice. That came a little bit later on in the championship bracket in the semifinals. They would also lose, actually not noted here, they also lost to Luminosity for that what would have been a top 4 spot. It was a 3-1 scoreline then. And they also have not lost a single one of the Game Battles 2Ks since 12/2, December 2nd. So as you take a look at this team, you look at what their bracket is, my confidence level of them qualifying is very high. I think this is the team that ends up on top of Pool A. I've got their qualifying chance up to the 95% mark. And as you swap back to what Pool A looked like, I don't think they'll have a problem with anybody in the bottom 4 there. The only question marks come down to what will Reciprocity bring and what will FaZe Clan bring. With Cellium being in the roster, FaZe Clan hasn't looked so good. I still think Team Sween, though, is probably the best team in this pool, without a doubt, actually, to be completely honest. It's probably the best team without a doubt. As you take a look at who's just below them in the seating, it's Reciprocity. We'll switch over to them as you see Wuskin, Tommy, Zed, Shawnee, and Denz. Again, no roster swaps for this team since Vegas, as they actually have moved into a house at Vegas, so I don't anticipate seeing many, if any, whatsoever when it comes to roster swaps throughout the season. They finished in the top 12 at CWL Vegas with a 4th place finish in their pool at Vegas. They finished top 16 and 2nd, respectively, in the last 2 CMG Pro Downs, which is a very big disparity. And no real recent results versus FaZe, Teddy, or Enigma. All 3 of those teams have played in the CMGs, at least one of them. But as you take a look at this team, again, they kind of struggled a little bit in the Vegas seedings. And as they got out of groups, they would go up against Heretics in the losers bracket side of the championship bracket. They beat them 3-1. They did beat FaZe Clan 3-2. Before they would eventually go up against Evil Geniuses in the losers bracket run of CWL Vegas. So there is a little bit of, a couple of months back, you look towards what happened at Vegas. They did beat FaZe. My confidence, because of that, simply puts them to the 70% mark. I think this is probably the team that would get the number 2 spot out of Group A and get themselves to an instant qualifier into the Pro League. But again, as you take a look back at what this group is made of, there is a lot of fluctuation, and they cannot come in sleeping, because if you only lose the Sween, that's fine. But if you lose a game to FaZe, then you're looking at a position where you cannot lose a game for Reciprocity against any of those other bottom 4 teams. And there's potentials of upsets there, as we saw a lot of these teams do rather well in the CMG Pro Downs recently. So Reciprocity, they definitely won't get eliminated in Pool A, and if they don't finish top 2, they'll probably be the number 3 seed coming out, which will give them a favorable spot and the playoff bracket. It just kind of comes down to, well, will they actually make the results that they want happen? And it's hard to find out what they're doing online because everyone has really weird connection issues to both the teams that are out in Vegas. Let's head over to FaZe Clan though, the next team up. This team did have some switches, as it was going to be Methods leaving, going to G2, and Celium being added just immediately after Vegas this happened. They've played a couple of the CMG Pro Downs together. They finished top 16 at Vegas, 3rd in Pool C at that event, and they did have a win versus Teddy Rex's team at a 3-0 scoreline in Vegas, but they haven't passed the round 2 in the losers bracket in the CMG Pro Downs yet, which is not exactly the best sign. And if you go back to their LAN performance, we just talked about how they lost to Reciprocity, the championship bracket. That was after they came out again as the number 3 seed, so they only played 1 game in that losers bracket run, I guess we'll call it, quote unquote, and it was a loss to Reciprocity really late at the night. And then this was a really weird team because during the pools, they beat some of the better teams when it came down to it. They beat Envy, they handled Mazer at the time, and then lost games to Straight Rippin' and Lightning Pandas. So my chance of them qualifying will sit just below Reciprocity's, again, simply because of their loss to Reciprocity. I had them sitting at a 66%. But again, I think this is a team that if it either finishes number 2 in the pool or number 3 in the pool, if they show up. And you take a look at the last couple of CMG Pro Downs, and it has not looked good for FaZe, losing to Spacely's team 3-1, losing to E6 3-1. It's just not the best situation. They did go a 5-game set versus eUnited the week before that, after having lost to G2 kind of unexpectedly, before that all kind of came to show that this was a much better G2 team than before. So let's take a look at Team Teddy's team, the next one up. This is the same roster as was performing in Vegas, but under a different team name. Team Teddy consisting of Apox, Ramby, Super, Teddy Rex, of course, and the namesake of the team. And then you also have the final of Zapatus. And this is, again, a very interesting team that finished top 20 in CWL Vegas. They were the previous Mazer Gaming going in, which is what you'll see them listed as, but they are no longer affiliated with Mazer Gaming. So if you're looking at the tweet that was put out by Codpedia, not the same Mazer Gaming squad. This is just an open team with no organization as of yet. Their most recent loss was to FaZe in the pools at Vegas at an 0-3 scoreline. That's the most relatable loss to teams, again, in their group. Finished top 12 in last week's CMG Pro Down, though, which was kind of a surprise, considering that they weren't really expected to do all that well. They would have a couple of really nice wins, to be honest, actually, in that CMG, as they were able to... though they lost first and foremost to Splice at a 4-1 scoreline, but they were able to beat 100 Thieves 3-1 and then go a full 5-game set versus Evil Geniuses. So this team, I think, has a chance, but here's the thing about this pool. I have their confidence of qualifying only at 35%, which seems really low, but when you go back and take a look at the other teams that are in this bracket, between them, FaZe Clan Black, Team Nile, and Enigma Six, those 4 teams are rather even as far as how they've performed against other top dog teams, as well as how they've played up against each other in the past. So my confidence level in this Teddy Rex squad is not super high, although they are coming in a little bit higher up in the placements as far as their seeding goes. I don't know if that's going to make too much of a difference because the pool play, everybody plays each other, and I just don't know if this Team Teddy squad has what it takes to break into the top 4 or 5, I guess. Well, yeah, top 4 or 5, just as the 6 and 7 would go home. So things are a little bit on the fence as far as who would finish in the bottom 2 of this pool, which will bring us over to FaZe Clan Black, the next team up, and I like this roster so much. Asim, Gravity, Mosh, Phantoms, and Tish. I remember watching these guys back when they were doing the earlier 2Ks before they were casted, and I was really impressed with how they were positioning, how they were rotating on respawns, and really just their game knowledge when it came to search and destroy. So when you take a look at this squad moving in, with no roster swaps, they only finished top 24 at Vegas, but they had a very long run after having to go through a very long open bracket. Their loss in the who would be making into pools, the round 10 I believe game it was to Heretics 0-3. They would win against Movie Star Riders in the open losers bracket, and then the last NA2K they won, and the one previous they finished second, losing to Accelerate Gaming. I like this team a lot, is what it comes down to. I just like the way that they play. I think that they've gotten more solid on respawn as they moved, and this is a squad that I think could do rather well, and I see them getting out. I don't think they'll be in the bottom 2. I see them actually having a potential to possibly hit the number 3 spot in the bracket, or in this pool rather. So my confidence level for this team qualifying is up to actually 52%. I actually have them placing better in pools than Teddy Rex's team. So this is going to be interesting to watch, I think, as you look at it. There was a 1-3 loss to Mindfreak in the opening round of the championship bracket, but again, that was when Mindfreak was really starting to come to life a little bit later in that tournament. So again, you take a look back at this. I think that this team can beat Team Teddy, Enigma Six, and Team Nile. So I see them finishing in potentially the 4th spot, if not the 3rd spot in this pool, if they were able to squeak a game away from Reciprocity or FaZe. I don't think anybody will beat Team Sween. Let's go down to the next one up, though. That's Team Nile. And if you're not familiar with this team, this was Team Divine as is listed on the Codpedia, but there have been a number of swaps. The roster at Vegas was Nile, Kreza, Delio, Nevo, and Bids. Nevo and Bids have left. They're now just free agents. And the pickups that came to fill out the roster were Endura from Gone Gaming and Keza from Black Forest Games, which will be the new roster coming into the quals. This was a team that finished top 28 at CWL Vegas. They did have a win, actually, versus Enigma 6 in the open losers bracket. A 2-0 scoreline was that one, before they would eventually lose to Tainted Minds in the next game 1-3, which kept them from getting the championship bracket. But this is a team that I can't really get behind fully, I think, is the biggest thing. As you take a look, they were in the losers bracket very quickly in the open bracket, where they had to go up against Orlando Reapers, Raised by Kings, as well as Regal Reserve, before they eventually got to Enigma 6. But the fact that they were taken out of the open bracket winners so early makes me really nervous about this team. And granted, they have picked up 2 of the more solid players from what was Gone Gaming and Black Forest Games. I just don't see this team doing that well against these other squads. Enigma 6 has been better since when they went at Vegas, and to be frank, I think Faze Clan Black would also handle them no problem. I actually see this team losing and getting taken out of pools, eliminated from Pro League contention, that finishing in the bottom 2 of the group. I only have them qualifying at a 5% chance. Even if they were to somehow sneak out of this pool, I just don't see them doing anything in the playoff bracket of what could potentially be the Pro League qualifiers in just a couple of weeks. So I don't see this team doing all that well. Like I mentioned, I don't see them beating a number of the teams. I think that they have a better chance than when they were previously Team Divine, but I'm not impressed really whatsoever by this squad. So I think they're gonna have to really make some waves to have any kind of a shot at making Pro League this year, which brings us then finally to Enigma 6. General, Diabolic, Kismet, Cade, and Frosty will continue to be representing the team from Vegas to what we're going to be seeing in Columbus. They were a top 32 finisher at Vegas, finished top 8 in the last 2 CMG Pro Downs. Actually, that was a top 8 2 weeks ago and a top 6 just this last week. And with that came wins versus eUnited and the Pittsburgh Knights at a 4-3 scoreline. They did lose to Accelerate Gaming in the Vegas Open, and as I mentioned, Team Divine at that point in time, an 0-2 scoreline. But that was after they had beat a number of teams going into it. And because of those wins, I have my confidence level for this team a little bit higher up at 45%. I don't believe this team will be in the bottom 2. I think Teddy Rex's team will be in the bottom 2 as you take a look back at it. I still think that it's going to be coming down to those bottom 4 teams who can beat each other best. If they end up trading off one another, we might be in a situation where we're looking at very close scorelines to who finishes that 4 through 7 spot, because I still think, again, FaZe Clan will be that number 3 team. So a lot of considerations here in Pool A. I'm really excited to see this one play out, simply because I think the battle for not getting eliminated is going to be closest here in Pool A compared to the other groups that we're going to see. So that's just kind of the breakdown on Pool A. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments about who's going to get out, who's not going to get out about Pool A. We'll be talking more about Pool B, C, and D in other videos, so make sure you go through, hit the subscribe button, get the little bell turned on for the notifications of when those go live. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I'll also be posting updates on when these things go live. I'd love to continue the conversation either in the comments below or there on Twitter. I've been Shift, you've been you. That has been the Pro League Qualifier breakdown for Pool A. We'll see you next time with Pool B in just not too long, hopefully. Hopefully you'll just go after this and just click on the next one, and you'll have it ready to go. That's all I got. Have yourself a good one. Until next time, keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.